it's a tech. Do we really need to test tech, or do we need to test a consumer proposition? You're a Web2 business. The biggest question that you need to ask yourself is, do you really need Web3? We kind of felt, maybe finally the market is ready. Fundamentally, what you need to create is a business that generates more than spends. With us, you can walk, literally, physically walk into Web3.
Thank you so much, first of all, to come here today and to give your time to give your knowledge and share your experience of being a founder, right? So you've been very successful Web2 founder already, right? So you are the CPO, right, of Sweatcoin, and then you are CEO of Sweat Economy. And by the way, well, congratulations, the Sweatcoin was the best downloadable app within health and fitness, right, in 2022. And also, I think that Sweat Wallet also was the first in the world that was used DApp, right, on the first week of launch.
Yeah, it was in position number 1 in many app stores around the world, yeah.
Wow, congratulations. 120 million users, correct?
Yeah.
13 million wallets created. I mean, that's impressive.
15 by now.
15 by now. I think that is a very interesting concept, because you've been already doing this kind of a coin when you've been in Web2, not Web3. And then you're just transforming this project, or maybe not transforming, or you're launching this Web3. And why Web3? I understand the concept that was very similar, but why Web3? Because it's it's new roles, new world.
Yeah, very good question. I think the very simple answer, or the biggest element of why Web3 was because we originally wanted to be in Web3. It just wasn't called Web3 back then. When we started the business we started thinking about it in 2014. We really started working on it in 2015. The concept was that we wanted to create the currency backed by the value of physical activity, because every business is built on certain belief. Well, not every business, but businesses that really make an impact, they have thesis, they have belief that they are driving, and that drives their prioritization, their their actions. And our belief is very simple, that physical activity has tangible value. And in order for us to deliver on this, we felt that the best tool would actually be to create an asset, a currency, that is an expression of this tangible value of physical activity. And in order to create this currency, we needed to basically connect physical activity and an asset, a currency. And currencies right now effectively split into only 2 groups. One requires a country, which is slightly difficult for the business to build and acquire, or you need to be building on blockchain. So for us, it was, as early as 2014, 2015, we were thinking of building on blockchain. We could not, because back then, for those that are familiar with the sort of Web3 and blockchain chronology, they would remember that back then there was only one blockchain in existence, which was Bitcoin. And while we could fork Bitcoin, we realized that it would take probably 6 to 9 months extra time, and it would increase cost of our MVP by several $100,000, which is orders of magnitude greater than without it. And we decided that, we are going to do the blockchain bit a little bit later. And we developed our MVP, and our blockchain was Postgres, so centralized database. And the idea was, well, we'll launch MVP centralized, we'll tweak things, we'll achieve product market fit, and then we'll, kind of fork Bitcoin and we'll develop, kind of put it on blockchain rails. As we were developing our MVP, we managed to meet with Vitalik Buterin and talk about potential use of what was not known as Ethereum back then, but kind of that became Ethereum later. And we kind of thought, oh, that's great, kind of more blockchains are emerging. But when we launched, we very quickly hit product market fit, and we started scaling so quickly that literally within a year from launch, we were already processing orders of magnitude more transactions than either Bitcoin or Ethereum could sustain. Kind of we made a pragmatic decision to sort of bring in technology later, but it actually saved our lives, because if we were to invest more time and more money and we were on blockchain, that would have been our undoing, because our MVP would have failed, because it would have just hit the ceiling of throughput, and that would be it. And kind of that sort of cutting out everything unnecessary was extremely valuable for us and allowed us to scale. When I say blockchain was not necessary for the MVP, it wasn't, because our main and the most difficult hypothesis was, will people be walking more than they do right now if you were turning their physical activity into some sort of asset? And the other hypothesis was, would partners and companies be accepting this asset as a payment for the goods, services, and kind of whatever they're trading, in order to kind of supply this stuff to the people who are walking. So it's a double-sided marketplace. It's extremely challenging, and blockchain as a technology is kind of underlying it. And we felt like, okay, it's a tech. Do we really need to test tech, or do we need to test a consumer proposition? And we focused on consumer proposition. And thankfully, we skipped blockchain. What happened subsequently was that we've created Sweatcoin, that because it was on Postgres was a centralized currency. A lot of people were assuming it's crypto, but it wasn't, and because of that they were churning. However, even with all the will, we could not put Sweatcoin onto blockchain rails, because there was nothing fast enough out there that would sustain our scale. So we basically were stuck in Web2 world until last year.
So do you think it's really about the timing was for you, more like the transition from Web2 to Web3?
Yes. We wanted to be Web3 already in 2015, but we could only do it last year when blockchain tech has evolved and developed to a level that is able to support our scale, and to also give us kind of realistic roadmap to support our growth. And we've chosen near, but I'm sure that we'll come to this a little bit later.
I wanted to actually to talk about this, why near protocol? There is so many right now blockchains.
Yeah, but let me sort of finish. So the first element, why Web3, was because we always wanted to be there. But there is another very, very big reason, which is we, as I mentioned, our thesis, our belief is that physical activity has tangible value. And in order for us to prove this, to kind of demonstrate to the world and basically create an economy of movement that is built around this sort of asset that is backed by the value of physical activity, we need to make sure that there is something that is widely spread and is tradable. And it needed to be a crypto token, because, as I mentioned, the only other alternative is to basically try to create a small country and kind of use this as a currency. But that would, again, even that approach would impose limitation, because that currency would only exist within the confines of that country, and we want to be truly global. So there is absolutely no way for us to avoid going into Web3. So it was original vision, and we cannot deliver on this vision without Web3. And I'm really happy that we finally managed to make a transition.
Okay, and regarding the blockchain, so you've been saying that it was very difficult in the beginning, right? Because there was no so scalable, right, blockchain at that time. And how do you think that it's changed in terms of like scalability and allowing you as a project to go finally to Web3? And why NEAR? Why NEAR protocol?
Yeah. Very good question. We've, as I mentioned to you, from 2015 all the way till last year, pretty much every year we were scanning the market, looking at all the different solutions. Several times we even tried to do proof of concept. In 2018 or 2019, we spent close to 6 months testing various different solutions and even building proof of concept on what was then called, don't remember the name of the project, but it eventually became Polkadot. And back then it was not a production grade code, and we were able to get it to 500 transactions per second, which was quite impressive. But it was just barely giving us what we were already processing, and there was no confidence in us that it will get into production and it will help us to get to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 transactions per second. So we've opted out to to make a jump. And last year, all of a sudden, we did our scan, and all of a sudden there was Solana, there was Algorand, there was NEAR, there is Polygon, there is Celo, there is Flow. I mean, just, layer ones as we know them right now. So blockchains just exploded. And thankfully, because of the Ethereum realities, so very high transaction fees, low throughput, lots of layer ones were differentiating in a direction that we really needed strategically, which was a lot higher throughput, a lot lower transaction cost. So we kind of felt, maybe finally the market is ready. And we've done thorough due diligence on more than a dozen different projects. And we've chosen NEAR for 3 big reasons. And sort of this emerged as we were doing our scan and analysis of the market. We didn't know at the beginning what mattered, what not. Of course, we were looking at throughput, but it cannot be the only criterion, because if you're simply looking at throughput, then you could use Algorand, Solana, you could use, of course, NEAR, you could use a whole bunch of other things. So we sat down and we started thinking what else matters to us. And we realized that, 3 things are important. One is strategic alignment. So where is the project going in terms of their goals, their objectives? And this was very valuable way of looking at them, because there are projects that clearly declaring that they're focusing on enterprise. So for example, the example would be Algorand.
Yeah.
They're very clear. We're about institutional, we are about enterprise, and they were really not interested in B2C, so direct to consumer business. Not that they were not interested, because we spent quite a lot of time talking to them, and they were very keen for us to build on them.
That's not the priority.
But it's not the the thing that really makes founders and senior members of the team basically, get excited. So strategic, are they going for mass market? Are they, is the team totally aligned on this? And, NEAR and Solana were clearly the projects that were really going for mass adoption. The second one was team and sort of energy and the style of working. And we really enjoyed working with NEAR, because this is a very tight partnership. It's not like, kind of, here is an SDK, go and build, and, kind of, we never talk. The technology is rapidly evolving. You need to have very good relationship. You need to have constant dialogue. You need to have technical teams talking. You need to have commercial teams talking. And, kind of, as a founder, it's extremely important for me that I have, kind of good vibe and a good relationship with the founders of other business. And both Ilya and Alex are kind of incredible guys. And the team that they build with Marik, who is leading on Near Foundation, we really hit it off, and we have very, very good working relationship. And it's been already more than a year, I guess, year and a half. And kind of, I am very, very happy the way we are kind of solving if there are any issues and kind of sorting things out. And of course, the third element is technology. So throughput, costs, energy consumption, because we're clearly not the business that is, keen to burn fossil fuels. Kind of, our mission is to make you more physically active, so we want you to walk as opposed to drive a car, for example. Basically, we're very, very keen to only talk to blockchains that were using proof of stake. Or evolution of it, which is kind of Near's solution. So strategy, team, and sort of chemistry, and then technology and sort of greenness of a solution. And Near won hands down. And, of course, there were huge questions because our scale is not anything that has ever been done in Web3. Our TGE, token generation event, which we carried out last September, was by far, I think, probably orders of magnitude bigger than any other TGE that has happened. We had close to 13 million wallets that we needed to create in that, very, very kind of limited period of time. And of course, everyone, including Near team, were very, very nervous about, such scale. But I'm really happy to report that, yes, Near sort of slowed down a little bit, but everything went without a hitch, and we are ticking over, and touch wood. I guess my advice would be, you really need to think about realities of your project, and don't just jump on one chain or the other because Oleg said so, or Violetta said so, or somebody said so. But if you are, mass scale, if you want to, have tens, hundreds of millions of users, and you are very, very keen to do direct to consumer stuff, then Near is definitely one of the sort of best contenders out there.
Thank you so much for elaborating this, because once you're thinking choosing blockchain, you basically look for certain things like technology, but what you've been looking at, it's very interesting because you need to work with this team, right? You need to scale with this team, and the strategy alignment, sustainability aspect, I think it's it's very, very interesting to hear. So the technology is kind of ready to take your project to Web3, but what about the market? How did you make this transition for users, because usability and user flow is still questionable, right?
Yeah.
In Web3, how you make this transition from your users in Web2 to Web3?
We took it quite seriously. There were several bits of work that we've done internally before we committed to migrating. The first was a lot of research, both qual and quant, with our users, because last thing that we wanted to do is to all of a sudden go into Web3 and realize that users that we have acquired over the last 6-7 years, kind of find Web3 unpalatable. Of course, there is still some people still associate crypto and Web3 with Silk Road drugs and blah blah blah. So that was one of the concerns, because we do have quite a lot of women, and kind of women with teenage kids, so kind of 50 plus. And our concern was to make sure that we're looking at all the different personas and different segments of users that we have and make sure that Web3 is either appealing to them or at least keeping them neutral. And the beauty of the results, which were quite unexpected actually, was that all the demographics are very intrigued by crypto. Everyone would love to get engaged. However, they have two big barriers. Some of these barriers are kind of objectively based on experience that some of the people had with their forays into Web3 or existing products. And some were, I guess, result of the discourse and the kind of conversations that they were exposed to, or narratives that they were exposed to through mass media. And the two issues were, first is, it's too complex. I'm not going to be able to understand it and use it. And this is driven by, some people sometimes even installing wallets and then going through this crazy onboarding process where they need to, generate a seed phrase, which is, why seed phrase? What does it mean? 24 words. You can't copy them. The instructions tell you that you need to write it on a piece of paper and then put it into a safe place, but not at home. And you just kind of go, oh, Jesus Christ! I can't deal with this. This is just too scary. Of course, kind of everyone's heard of the kind of complexity, seed phrase, passwords being lost, money, irrecoverable, etc. And another aspect was that people were not prepared to put quite a lot of money to learn about Web3. And, kind of unlike a lot of other technologies, actually, if you wanted to use Web3, you need to put quite a lot of money on the table. And the worst thing was that, of course, every day, or, well, not every day, but every week, you would have a headline where, breach so-and-so got drained of, 600 million in liquidity. This project, got hacked. And people are looking at it kind of going, I need to put a lot of money to engage, but it clearly is not terribly safe because, kind of there is hacks left, right, and center. I am probably going to lose this money. So when we realized that these two barriers were the ones driving the behavior of mass market, which is not to adopt Web3, we were kind of, actually, we can address UX because we know how to build really, really good mobile apps. Over the last 7 years, we have, kind of acquired a lot of experience, and with 120 plus million users, kind of we know what works, what doesn't, and how to develop slick, simple UX. But what was even more exciting for us is that given that we're building the business that is effectively creating an asset backed by the value of physical activity, with us you can literally physically walk into Web3 without having to put money first in order to engage. So we went, we actually have an amazing competitive advantage because we can address both of these issues and make it kind of no-brainer for mass market to use us as a bridge, as a gateway into Web3. So then we've done a few tests. We partnered with various different crypto companies. We've put a few tens of thousands of our users to see how people adopted, used, and we realized that kind of our hypotheses were absolutely right, that, kind of if we explain people very well what is required of them, if we give them good UX and good education, then, they go, they engage, and, kind of they become really valuable users to these businesses. And then, as I mentioned before, we've, realized that Near is a great platform for us. Build good relationship with the team, and we started building.
Wow, incredible. Okay, we talked about a little bit external, right? How is it, why you transitioned to Web3 and how you did it. But what about the team processes? I mean, do you like have it like you have still? I know that you have still like Web2 project and
Yes.
then Web3 project.
Yeah.
How do you divide this? Is it like separate? Is it like the same teams? Is it like different teams?
It's. I mean, the best way to answer it, it's a separate project insofar as, you know, in those functions where it has to be separate. For example, there is a different product team because it's a separate app. You know, we have Sweatcoin that sits in health and fitness section of the App Store and Google Play, and now we have Sweat Wallet, which sits in finance. It's a completely different code basis, right? So we have different product teams, which means product design, you know, development is separate. But if you're starting to look at, you know, kind of service functions, I don't know, finance, HR, etc., then, you know, kind of these are covering both businesses. After doing legal and regulatory due diligence, we've realized that, you know, kind of Web3 business needs to be separate and needs to be based in different jurisdictions. So we have foundation registered in BVI, and we're in the process right now of shifting it or creating a foundation in Switzerland. The reason why we didn't start in Switzerland is just because it's a very lengthy regulatory process in Switzerland, and we couldn't wait this long because, you know, kind of we already had a product and everything was ready, and just simply waiting for regulatory approval felt like, you know, kind of it would waste a lot of time for us as a project. But we are in the process of doing that. So foundation is, of course, there are no shareholders, and you know, kind of it's a completely different way of running the business. We've, you know, kind of shifted some people from Sweatcoin to Sweat Economy. We hired few people, not many. I think that kind of one of the biggest things that kind of was a learning. When you look at Web3, it feels like it's a completely different kettle of fish, but reality is, yes, it is different, and there are some sort of nuances that you need to be aware of, but it's not a fundamentally different world that you need to get people who have kind of only or a lot of Web3 experience. You know, kind of specifically the principles are exactly the same. No matter, you know, a lot of people would disagree with me, and especially kind of crypto natives, I sometimes have conversations with them that you can create flywheels and multiple tokens. Fundamentally, what you need to create is a business that generates more than spends. If you are able to create that, then, you know, you can and you will be successful in Web2 and in Web3. You know, if you're spending more than you are earning, then you can invent, you know, kind of whatever multi-token, NFT, staking, it all going to mask the fact that you're spending more than you're earning. And, you know, kind of because of this, I think that, you know, kind of for a person who is really, really successful in Web2 and understands the way business works, to get their head around Web3 doesn't take an awful lot of time. From technology perspective as well, and my CTO kind of would concur there. Yes, smart contracts are written largely in Solidity, which is the, you know, programming language of Ethereum, or in Rust. You know, kind of these are just different languages, and, you know, kind of very talented developers are not talented in tech. They are talented developers, and they can adjust the language and use tech that is best fitting the objective that is in front of them. So, you know, kind of switching gears and learning Solidity or Rust turned out to be, you know, kind of a lot less of a barrier than we originally thought. So, for example, we haven't hired a single, you know, kind of blockchain developer into our team. But what we've done is we took our very talented development team members who really wanted to learn blockchain, and we sort of paired them with a near foundation advisors who were working on the protocol, and we let them do the work. At the beginning, yes, there were quite a lot of questions, but the fact that they were able to build this smart contract and run TGE that has never been done by any blockchain before suggests that they've done a pretty amazing job.
Wow, that's really good news for those founders and Web2 teams that they actually can do this transition. And I know that you said that some people in Web3 they will say it differently because Web3 native they say that it's very different. I think it's more mindset that is different actually because it's very interesting project as Web2 because you already had that mindset of Web3 project initially when you even started Web2 project, and I think this is also was through your mission and through your teamwork also was being sad that and transmitted. So I think that this was really helped you to do this. That's very good and very interesting story. And you as a Sweatcoin, you've been already raising money, right? So as I'm not 14 million, right, around that you already raised, right, in several rounds.
7 million. Yeah,
7
we
million.
raised for Sweatcoin maybe 7 in the bed.
And then you raised more money for Sweat Economy. So it's like 14. Okay. So this is like the combining.
Yes.
But how did you manage these investments? So you have one project and then you have another project. And as you mentioned that it's like in BVI, right?
Yeah.
So is it like the same investors base? Is it like new investors? Like you separate like Web3 investors going to Web3 project? How did you manage this?
Very good question. I think by and large, the Sweat Economy investors were new, but some existing investors in Sweatcoin also participated in in our SAFT round. So our Sweat Economy raise was token based and it was SAFT. And some of the lead investors, Goodwater Capital, who were our lead in our sort of seed round, they, after we went to them and we explained what we're trying to do, they actually took a significant chunk of the SAFT as well. But not every sort of traditional VCs that we kind of knew and we connected with are comfortable with tokens. Some of them actually cannot even touch tokens, so their LP agreements are not going to give them this this opportunity. So by and large, I would recommend, if you are thinking about doing it, then don't mix the equity with token. Just simplify your life as well, and probably just go either for equity or for token. So in our case, for example, we've done equity raises in the past and we've done token raise right now. We haven't done token and equity raise. We were contemplating doing it, but to be honest, it was very complicated for for investors to get their heads around. So we just simplified our life and their life.
Okay, interesting as well. And do you think that this is like the journey that you did, this transition? Is it like for everyone? Is it like any Web2 business can do this? Would you be like advising?
Totally. I mean, you're a Web2 business. The biggest question that you need to ask yourself is, do you really need Web3? And I would say that my default answer to everyone is going to be no. Because I know that a lot of people I've spoken to a lot of founders who have businesses in Web2, and they were, right now, less so because of the winter and stuff. I mean, we're recording this in January 2023. If we were in summer 2021, then a lot of people would be looking at Web3 and the blockchain as a way to fundraise, or as a way to, just basically bring some exciting news to the market.
Yeah,
And
play to earn models. There have been a lot of those. Yeah.
But a lot of this is sort of bollocks because, as I said, that, the business needs to have a problem that they solve, a product that has product market fit, and the commercials such as that you earn more than you spend. These are the three things, right? Web3 cannot solve any of these problems for you. If you have a product that is not scaling, then either you're not solving the right problem or your product doesn't have product market fit. By throwing in blockchain, you're not going to be able to fix any of these problems. And quite often, this is exactly what people were trying to do. Like, if I throw in a token, then maybe I can do a fundraise. But, this basically masks the problem of you either not solving the right problem or not having the right product. And it certainly cannot solve the problem of, your unit economics and commercials. It could help you to raise money, but that's not necessarily what, what solves the fundamentals of the business. The places or the problems that require Web3, and again, I'm not trying to say that I have a full comprehensive view and I've done like thorough analysis, but in my experience, there are businesses that can benefit tremendously, I think, from going to Web3. And these businesses would be effectively linking people, so person, with a right to something, either right to money or right to access certain things, I don't know, ticketing or membership in something. So, why? Because blockchain is a very interesting way to, I don't know, give me something, an NFT or some sort of asset that I can control directly. So I have custody over it, and if I have custody over it, so I have private keys to it, that verifies and confirms that I have a right to a certain thing. I'm personally really excited about ticketing and access, which is where I see the main and obvious utility for NFTs. NFTs been all the rage for very long time, but by and large they were just sort of JPEGs, pictures that have very high price, and that all boiled down to speculation and certain collections becoming all the rage. CryptoPunks, I guess Bored Apes are the good examples, and everyone was trying to copy that, but that doesn't have utility in real world. Like, look, I've got Bored Ape, great, okay, but what does it do? Ticketing and access is one thing that I can really get my head around, which is where NFTs can help. Another use case where where you can potentially need Web3 is the use case that we have, which is we believe that there is certain behavior that objectively creates value, and finding the way to tokenize this behavior and turn it into an asset could be a very interesting thing. We're not the only ones who are doing it. You probably know Brave Browser. I don't know if you're using them. They also have tens of millions, probably 100 million users right now. Very successful product. But what they have is they have basic attention tokens. So they are working on tokenizing your attention. So we're tokenizing physical activity, they're tokenizing attention. I'm sure that there are other examples of behaviors that objectively create value for someone. This is where I am very cynical about play to earn, I'd be more than happy to be proven otherwise, but I think that play to earn is a dud. I don't think that we are going to be talking about play to earn for much longer. And the reason for it is that playing is an enjoyment. It's the activity that gives me pleasure. It's not an activity that creates value objectively. And I see it as a hook. I see it as a way to engage people, and this is why all this rage about Web3 games. I'm still looking at it with a bit of a skepticism, because I really do not understand what problem for gamers Web3 solves. How can Web3 make games better? I mean, Axie, I lost several $1,000s on it. I put my kids on it, and they very, very quickly, within days, have told me that this is a dud. And while everyone was raving, I was just basically saying that, look, this thing is gonna die because it's a bad game. It's not interesting. And, playing a game to earn money is a job, but where is this money coming from? Who is generating this money that these people are earning? Mm-hmm. If this game is able to monetize and earn more than it pays, great, but Axie doesn't have that. So it ended up being a Ponzi scheme, which is, which is why we are where we are.
Yeah, and how do you see Sweatcoin in 2 to 3 years? Is it will be Web 2.5 project? Is it will be fully Web 3 project? What is your vision on that?
I cannot tell you that these are the terms that I am thinking of, or I'm thinking in when I think about our business. What I think is going to happen is that we will establish Sweat, which is our crypto token, as a principal unit of physical activity value. So what I am aiming for is, in the future, if there is a coverage of us, then the headline reads, physical activity has grown 20% in value last week. And the reason why I want that to happen rather than sweat pump 20% is because our mission is to make the world more physically active.
The companies are ready to pay for that, right?
Exactly. I mean, we're coming to this. So if headline reads that physical activity pumped 20%, then it will make more people wonder and think about the value of their physical activity. It will make them be more physically active, and it will create additional value for the world. What is this value? And the value is, as I probably mentioned before, is, your personal value is, if you are fitter, you feel better and you're more productive. And if you have a family, to be honest, I've never met a husband or wife who would be saying, no, sit in front of TV and drink beer, don't get fitter. I think everyone wants to have their spouse or their partner to, be in good shape. Your doctor, your healthcare provider is, huge benefit, because if you're physically active, you're definitely going to be calling in sick less. Mental state and sort of mental health. Again, you're going to be in better spirits. The working place is a lot better environment if people are in better spirits. You're going to be more productive. You're going to live longer. So, it's economically beneficial for insurers. And I spend quite a lot of time working and talking to insurers. It's a better risk for them. The payouts are lower. The health insurers are massive beneficiaries, because if you're going to live longer, of course, your payouts are going to be a lot lower and they're a lot more profitable. But ultimately, what is most interesting is that governments are incredibly interested in making you more physically active, because that makes you live longer, and your health span, so the period of life within which you are in good health and you're economically active, is extended, which means that you're going to pay more taxes, and so on and so forth. So I believe that very soon we're going to have countries right now recognizing Bitcoin as legal tender. We will soon see countries that will be accepting at least part of your taxes in Sweat, because if you have Sweat, then it means you take care of your health, you put less pressure on the healthcare system, and you are going to live longer, and you're going to generate more sort of tax revenue for the for the country. So this is how I'm thinking about it. The Sweat as a principal unit of physical activity value. That's the thing that I would like to achieve.
Very interesting what you mentioned. So you probably will be more Web3 project, right? Like more Web3 from what I'm like hearing.
Yeah.
Well, that was very incredible talk actually. And just like for conclusion, what advices? I mean, focus on the value that we already got from you a lot. What else?
I think my main advice would be latch onto a problem that you are solving. A lot of businesses start with idea, and it is very, very sad to see businesses that have an idea and then they build a product, and then they have this product and they're looking for a problem that they're trying to solve. Go the opposite way. Always think of what is the problem that you're solving for whom, and then come up with the idea and then come up with the product. And the reason for this is that even if you really, really, really screw up, then at least you will be focusing on, well, ideally, you'd be focusing on a problem that you want to solve. So hopefully you will be solving it at least for yourself. If you're just focusing on an idea and then you're looking for a problem, it is extremely disheartening for founders to have something that they feel is valuable, but nobody needs because they cannot fit it into their hierarchy of problems that they're trying to solve. That's gonna save you an incredible amount of grief later on. Not to mention, it's very easy to pivot. So, imagine that you start with a problem and then you have a product idea and you realize that you cannot achieve product market fit. But what happens is that while you were going through this process, you understood the problem deeper, and you're gonna have a pivot in a way your product is working, but you're not going to have a pivot in terms of what problem you're solving. And in this situation, it's just so much easier for investors to come on board, for your team to understand, because everyone's just like, okay, we thought this, we're solving the same problem, we now understand this problem better, and this is clearly a better thing, as opposed to, we were doing this and now we're going there, and everyone is just like, oh my God, how's it gonna work, why, blah, blah, blah. And there is a lot of anxiety and there is a lot of unease. So problem removes the anxiety of pivoting completely, and we've seen it in in our own case. So long-winded way of saying, just focus on a problem. And if you have that, I think you have probably double or treble better chance of being successful as an entrepreneur than someone who starts with an idea without clear understanding what problem they're solving and whose problem they're solving.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this interview, and it was an incredible talk, and congratulations with your success and your project, and we need to walk more, so...
Absolutely. Let's get some walking rather than sitting.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheers. Thank you, Violetta.
Thank you.